Hare Krishna, dear assembled devotees. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share a little knowledge and share a little information about Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. I'm going to start by offering my respectful obeisances unto Srila Prabhupada. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Tinamina Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharya Nirvishesha Srinivadi Ashtatire Shatati. And also I'm going to share the pranam prayers to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati on this special occasion, his appearance day. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prashtaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Tinamine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto His Divine Grace, Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, who is very dear to Lord Krishna, having taken shelter at his lotus feet. Shri Varshabhanavi Devi, Dayitaya Kripabdaye, Krishna Sambandha Vigyana, Daine Prabhave Namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances to Shri Varshabhanavi Devi, Dayita Das, another name of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, who is favored by Srimati Radharani, and who is the ocean of transcendental mercy and the deliverer of the science of Krishna. Madhurya Ojvala Premadya, Shri Rupa Nuga Bhaktira, Shri Gaura Karuna Shakti, Vigrahaya Namostute. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, the personified energy of Sri Chaitanya's mercy, who delivered devotional service which is enriched with conjugal love of Radha and Krishna, coming exactly in the line of revelation of Srila Rupa Goswami. Namaste Gauravani Shimurtaye Dinatarine, Rupanuga Vidura Pasidanta Dvanta Harine. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you, who are the personified teachings of Lord Chaitanya. You are the deliverer of the fallen souls. You do not tolerate any statement which is against the teachings of devotional service enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. And that last statement kind of pops out at me. You do not tolerate any statement which is against the teachings of devotional service enunciated by Srila Rupa Goswami. So a Vaishnava, and especially a great stalwart acharya like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, they are always very meek and humble and tolerant, and they have all the good qualities of the demigods, and but at the same time they do not tolerate any statements which are against the teachings of the Vedas or against the acharyas or the revealed scriptures. So it's not that they're tolerant to anything and everything. They, especially Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was known as the Lion Guru, and he very vehemently preached very boldly against all kinds of bogus philosophies at that time, and really paved the way for what we have today, the movement we have today, as Srila Prabhupada always refers back to. And so we can get into that more. But first, I would like to just read a little bit of the Advent of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta from a really nice book that I would recommend to everyone by Rupa Vilas Das Prabhu, who was a disciple of Srila Prabhupada. And so he wrote this biography of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And he also writes biographies of other acharyas like Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Gaur Kishore Das Babaji. And those are also very nice books to really dive into the lives of these great acharyas. And importantly, he does so with utmost respect, through the mood of, Srila Prabhupada, because he's, of course, a disciple of Prabhupada. And so he doesn't do so in a way that's trying to, to intimately examine the lives of these previous pure devotees, because it's really impossible to really understand all the activities of Vaishnava, but he just kind of goes into the events in their lives, and that it's nice to read about that. So I'll start here. On the 5th day of the dark lunar fortnight of the month of Govinda, corresponding to February 6, 1874 AD, by the Western calendar, at 3:30 in the afternoon, Bimal Prasad Datta, later to be known as Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur, made his appearance in Purushottama Kshetra, Jagannath Puri, in the state of Orissa, not far from the temple of Lord Jagannath. He was the fourth son of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur and Sri Yukta Bhagavati Devi, and at the time of his birth, all 32 bodily symptoms of a Mahapurusha, a great personality, were pointed out by an experienced astrologer. Furthermore, the boy was born with his umbilical cord wrapped around his neck like a Brahmin's thread. The astrologer commented at his birth, "I have done many horoscopes in my life, but I have never before seen such a horoscope filled with all the signs of a great personality. This child will become world famous as a brilliant teacher of life's ultimate goal." When the child was 6 months old, Lord Jagannath's Rath Yatra festival was in procession, and the cart stopped in front of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur's house for 3 days. Following the instructions of Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, Bhagavati Devi brought the child before the cart and an offered garland fell from the neck of the Lord, encircling the boy. This was taken as a sign of special favor by all present. The grain ceremony was observed on the cart at this time and was done with Jagannath Prasad. When the boy's vocational inclination was tested, he immediately embraced the Srimad Bhagavatam, indicating his future as a preacher. Therefore, from the very beginning of his presence, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur exhibited all the signs of an exalted, eternal associate of the Lord, who had descended in answer to Srila Bhaktivinoda's prayer for, quote unquote, a ray of Vishnu to help him spread the Krishna consciousness movement. And thus the title of this book is A Ray of Vishnu. So one point I wanted to expand on a little is why we refer to the birth and disappearance of these great acharyas in our line as appearance and disappearance. And the reason why is because their birth and their apparent death are not the same as a regular conditioned living entity in the material world. They're actually not subject to the laws of karma because they're fully liberated, and they're residents of Goloka Vrindavan, and they're eternally liberated souls, nitya siddhas, whereas the regular conditioned souls are classified as nitya baddha, which means eternally conditioned. And we're labeled as eternally conditioned because although we were originally with Krishna in his pastimes, we are originally liberated entities. It's been so long since time immemorial, billions and trillions of universes have come and gone, that it's eternal. There's no tracing the origin of when we became conditioned. And so Srila Prabhupada explains that's why we're classified as nitya baddha, eternally conditioned. Whereas these great acharyas like Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Srila Prabhupada, they're eternally liberated, nitya siddha. They never misuse their independence. And so their apparent birth and death in this material world is not through the agency of Maya, Mahamaya, the external energy of Krishna. It's actually through the direct agency of Krishna's internal energy called Yoga Maya. And so that's why they appear by Krishna's order, by their own mercy, their own free will, they appear to try to help the Lord in his preaching pastimes. They try to assist the Lord in his pastimes. And so that's where the usage of appearance and disappearance come, because and for an acharya, for a pure devotee preacher, their appearance and disappearance, Srila Prabhupada says, is like the sun. It appears and disappears before our vision, but as soon as it disappears, it's appearing simultaneously in another location in the world. And so these great preachers, when they disappear from our vision, they're actually appearing in another planet, preaching the Lord's glories and trying to liberate conditioned souls from the clutches of Maya. And that's so just imagine the great mercy that they have, and the compassion that they have, to sacrifice they're always eternally blissful because they're fully Krishna conscious, but they're so dedicated to the mission of the Lord. They want to help the Lord in his mission, which is to liberate all the fallen conditioned souls. So they're not thinking in terms of their own comfort, like staying in Goloka Vrindavan and serving Krishna that way. But although they are simultaneously in Goloka Vrindavan, but they're also thinking, well, if Krishna comes and if he wants to liberate all the conditioned souls, well, that's what I want to do too. I want to help the Lord. And so so the Lord, in this yuga, in this fallen age of Kali Yuga, where God realization is it's practically impossible, at least through the other methods in the previous yugas. Lord Chaitanya so kindly appears, and in the form of his holy name, the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Rama, Rama, Hare. So he appears in this form, and also in form of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And he appears along with his associates. And so just like Nityananda Prabhu, who's Lord Baladev, and Gadadhar Pandit and Srivas Pandit, just like we recite in the Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivas Adi Gaur. So those are the five principal energies of the Lord. And so he appears with them, and they assist him, his own energies, and then also his devotees come and assist him. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, there's so many descriptions of all the nice devotee acharyas and intimate associates of the Lord, confidential associates of the Lord, who come to assist him, and they appear with him, and they descend through his internal energy, and not through the laws of karma, like we are taking birth. See, we don't have control of where we are born, because we're so entangled by our own works. Just like we were reading yesterday in the class that Dear Govinda Prabhu was giving on the Bhagavad Gita verse, where work done as a sacrifice for Vishnu has to be performed, otherwise work done binds one to this material world. And so that's where we're at, where we've been performing work not as a sacrifice for Vishnu for so many millenniums. And so here we are binded to this material world. But to our great fortune, we've come in contact somehow with the Krishna consciousness movement, with this pure, unadulterated movement that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu gave to us. And we came in contact with a pure devotee who is so rare, it's just unimaginable. And so we're very fortunate in that way to come in contact with Srila Prabhupada, to have each other too, in association with each other, based on Srila Prabhupada's teachings. And And so, yes, although we are very much entangled in all of our own karmic works, uh, we're still very fortunate to have become situated on the path of liberation, going back to Godhead. Um, and that's thanks to these great associates of the Lord who have descended in the line of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And just like we were reading in its prayer, actually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he is actually, his identity has been revealed to us, which is very confidential knowledge. He's a gopi in Vrindavan, in Goloka Vrindavan, by the name of Sri Varshavanavi Devi. And um, so who better to give us love of God than one of Krishna's most intimate associates, Varshabhanavi Devi, Daita. Yeah. Another name, yeah, Srila Bhakti. So, and also there's a book called the Gaura Ganodesha Deepika, which also reveals all the identities of many of Lord Chaitanya's associates. And so that's also another book that you might find pleasure going through. The Gaura Ganodesha Deepika. It's in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, and all these associates are revealed in there too, like their original identities, which I find very fascinating to learn. Like Lord Brahma took birth partially as Haridas Thakur, and like that. So so that's why we refer to the birth and apparent death of these great acharyas as appearance and disappearance. And today we're celebrating the appearance of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was just a little glimpse of his life. He was known as a very bold preacher, and he was a great debater, and he had such a sharp memory. I forgot the term. It was like eidetic memory, or so, which means that whatever he read, he would memorize like word for word. And so
a Shrutidhar in Sanskrit term.
Okay. Yes.
Photographic memory?
Something like that. But yeah, whatever he read, he would instantly remember, like word for word. And so imagine that such a resource at your disposal. I mean, if I remember everything I read, I would probably be a very blissful person. But yeah, so he remembered everything he read, and he could immediately use that in debates and cite scripture like anything. And Prabhupada said he was known as a living encyclopedia.
Mm-hmm.
And so
Yes.
that's no exaggeration. So he was quite literally, and even Srila Prabhupada was also known as a encyclopedia himself. So you see the guru-disciple relationship coming down. And of course, Srila Prabhupada also fiercely debated and defeated so many impersonalists and atheist philosophies like that. That's what the Acharya does. They come here to preach the glories of God, but at the same time, there are so many bogus, misleading teachings and philosophies that are diverted from the truth, fit for someone else's purposes. That they mislead people, they mislead innocent souls. And so the acharyas come, and they, just like Krishna comes and he reestablishes the principles of religion, so he also does that through his pure devotees who come and reestablish these principles of religion. And that's what all the acharyas have done in our line. Like Madhvacharya and Ramanujacharya. Well, Ramanuja is a different line, but he's still a bona fide acharya, and he's written so many exposés. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came, and he defeated so many different systems. And one of the main accomplishments that he performed was he really defeated the caste Brahmana system, and this system was so caste Brahmana was basically followers of that school of thought. They believe that whoever takes birth in a family of Brahmanas, they're automatically Brahmanas. So there's not necessarily any qualification of work that's needed. It's just if you're born in a family of Brahmanas, you're a Brahmana, and you're to be respected as a Brahmana and receive your Brahmin thread. And also if you're not born in a family of Brahmanas, no matter what work you perform or no matter how qualified you appear to be, you can't be counted as a Brahmana. And so you can't be given second initiation or even initiation sometimes. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came and very strongly exposed this as being not in line with the original intent and purposes and teachings of the Vedas, and what to speak of the Vedas, but Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's own teachings and the six Goswamis, and because of course Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, we can see in his example, he delivered so many fallen souls and gave them his mercy, and just like Jagat and Madai, although I think they were more in the family of Brahmanas, but if I'm not mistaken. But basically what Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was trying to establish was you're a Brahmana by qualification. It's not by birth. And so what was happening was you can be some rascal born in a Brahmin family and do anything you want, be a drunkard, and still be counted as a Brahmana. But that Bhaktisiddhanta said that's not true. That's bogus. And so by so many verses he cited, so many different sources from the Vedas he would cite, and he would debate. He would actually travel and debate and defeat. And he, even as a young teenager or a child, he would actually defeat many learned pundits, elderly learned pundits, with his knowledge, with his erudite scholarship. And so he became very popular in that way very quickly, actually. Of course, his father was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, another stalwart child pioneer of this movement, Krishna consciousness movement in the West. It was Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur who first had this idea of going to the West and preaching, of course. And so, but there's one story in this book here where Bhaktivinoda Thakur was supposed to debate someone on caste Brahmanism. Bhaktivinoda Thakur was also very, very learned and scholarly, but he was sick, and so he couldn't go and debate that day. And so he was just contemplating, like, God, isn't there anybody present in the Vaishnava community today who can face these people and defeat this false philosophy? Is there nobody present today? And so that's when he really began to pray to Krishna for a son to come and be able to defeat all these bogus philosophies that were just running rampant, and the caste Brahmana system. And so Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati was the answer to his prayer. That's the little history behind that. So the Acharyas come, and they come to establish, just like Krishna does, establish the true principles of religion, and also defeat so many wrong ideas. And so Srila Prabhupada was really just following in Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's footsteps, as he always says. And so he'll say, just like my Guru Maharaj was having to defeat so many elements and people and different ideas, so I am also doing that. And in the West, there was a whole another range of false philosophies that Prabhupada defeated. Mostly impersonalism and voidism, and that's what he's celebrated as someone who has defeated that or exposed that. And so all over Srila Prabhupada's books, he's really exposing impersonalism, voidism, and atheism. I also wanted to read just a little passage from the Brahma Samhita. I wanted to present this book. It's from, so the Brahma Samhita is actually originally recited by Lord Brahma himself as a prayer to Krishna and his realization and his mature realization. And so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, Lord Chaitanya actually found this one chapter of the Brahma Samhita, and there's like 100 chapters, but he found one chapter, and he was very ecstatic that he found it. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati actually translated that chapter and gave his purports to it. And one purport that you may have heard is on a recording on Srila Prabhupada's album, and Prabhupada, he's chanting Chintamani Prakara Sadmasu, and then he gives the translation too. And so I just wanted to connect that and just in honor of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, kind of recite that verse, because it's such a beautiful contribution that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave to us, and I thought we would all enjoy hearing that again. So the verse is Chintamani Prakara Sadmasukalpa Vriksha Laksha Vriteshu Surabhira Vipalayantam Lakshmi Sahasra Shatasam Brahma Sevyamanam Govindamadi Purusham Damaham Bhajami. Translation: I worship Govinda, the primeval Lord, the first progenitor who is tending the cows, yielding all desire, in abodes built with spiritual gems, surrounded by millions of purpose trees, always served with great reverence and affection by hundreds of thousands of Lakshmis or Gopis. Purport by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. By the word Chintamani is meant transcendental gem. Just as Maya builds this mundane universe with the 5 material elements, so the spiritual potency has built the spiritual world of transcendental gems. The Chintamani, which serves as material in the building of the abode of the Supreme Lord of Goloka, is a far rarer and more agreeable entity than the philosopher's stone. The purpose tree yields only the fruits of piety, wealth, fulfillment of desire, and liberation. But the purpose trees in the abode of Krishna bestow innumerable fruits in the shape of checkered divine love. Kama Dhenus, cows yielding the fulfillment of desire, give milk when they are milked. But the Kama Dhenus of Goloka pour forth oceans of milk in the shape of the fountain of love, showering transcendental bliss that does away with the hunger and thirst of all pure devotees. The words Laksha and Sahasra Shata signify endless numbers. The word Sambrama or Sadhara indicates being saturated with love. Here, Lakshmi denotes Gopi. Adi Purusha means he who is the primeval Lord. And so, yeah, you could see how very sophisticated and how detailed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gets in his purports and his writings. They're very intellectual, and many times I find that I have to read his purports like a few times to really even start to grasp just the basic English that is over my head. And yeah, so this is one of his many gifts to us, and he gave many gifts. For example, he established 64 Gaudiya mats or temple organizations around India and also the world. Actually, he sent his disciples to various parts of the world. It wasn't nearly as widespread as Srila Prabhupada's because it just wasn't the time. But primarily around India, he established these 64 Gaudiya maths, and they also did a lot of course, preaching work around India. And just a few more of his contributions that I wanted to read from this book. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur established many presses and printed thousands of books. And in 1928, he even established a daily newspaper called Nadia Prakash. When challenged how it was possible to publish a daily newspaper about God, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur explained how this world was a small place, only 1/4 of the creation, compared to the spiritual world, which comprises the other 3/4. He further replied, here in this world, there are thousands of newspapers and magazines reporting the stale, repetitious happenings of this limited space. So for reporting the news of the unlimited spiritual realm concerning the eternal, ever-fresh Supreme Personality of Godhead, we could publish a newspaper at every second, what to speak of daily. That's when he was questioned as how it was possible to publish a daily newspaper. I guess, yeah, from an outsider's point of view, like, how do you guys talk about Krishna so much? I mean, yeah, okay, you have the Bhagavad Gita, and he did his pastimes, and he lives in Goloka Vrindavan, and but it's a matter of realization, of course. When you become a devotee, you can see how it's just ever increasing, it's ever fresh, and this, like Bhaktisiddhanta said, this is just 1/4 of the creation. His presses were the Bhagavat Yantra, Bhagavat Press, established in Calcutta in 1913, the Gaudiya Printing Works, established in Calcutta in 1923, the Nadia Prakash Printing Press, established in Mayapur in 1928, and the Paramati Printing Works, established in 1936 in Cuttack, Orissa. He published the following magazines: Sajjana Toshani, established in 1881 by Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, which was later taken over by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati, and renamed The Harmonist, an English monthly. So this Harmonist magazine, which is a huge collection of magazines, which was started by his father, Bhaktivinoda Thakur. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta took it over at his father's request, and started writing magazines, much like Back to Godhead. Srila Prabhupada followed in that same mood. And so this Harmonist magazine, or Sajjana Toshani, is available still. You can buy it online. Probably shipped from India, but you can find it, and it's probably like a little up. It's probably like $200. But if you're interested in and ever really diving into that series, then it is available still. So one devotee, or maybe disciple of Bhaktisiddhanta, undertook that work, and he made it all translated. Another magazine, the Gaudiya, his first magazine, established in 1922 as the official weekly journal of the Gaudiya Math. The Nadia Prakash, established in 1926, initially as an English Bengali magazine, but later a daily newspaper. And there's quite a few more that he published. And he personally wrote over 108 essays and books listed fully in Appendix 1. And aside from these, he also published hundreds of articles in the Sajjana Toshani, Nivedana, Gaudiya, and Nadia Prakash. He also published many translations or with commentaries from various acharyas like Srila Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur, etc. And he met with many scholars, leaders, and educators, and established Krishna consciousness as a great science worthy of the highest esteem. He had interviews and debates with the acharyas of other schools of thought and was never defeated, thus establishing the Chintya Veda Tattva philosophy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu as the supreme doctrine of all time. He also established several important parikrams of the Dhammas, especially the Navadvip Dhamma parikram and the Vraja Mandala parikram, which were both originally set in motion by Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. setting the example as the greatest devotee of Krishna. Parikrams are like spiritual pilgrimages or like circumambulating Vrindavan or Govardhan Hill. It's known as like Govardhan Parikram or Vrindavan Parikram. And so in Mayapur, there's the Navadvip Dham Parikram where you travel throughout all the 9 islands there in Mayapur, and it takes a series of days, and they do that maybe, I don't know if it's every year or every 5 years or something like that. But they but so yeah, he established those parikrams, which are still being practiced today. And Srila Saraswati Thakur always emphasized kirtan and talks about Krishna, and called his press the Brihat Mridanga, meaning greater Mridanga, which could be heard far and wide, as opposed to just a few blocks. And so this is actually an instruction that Srila Prabhupada took very seriously from his spiritual master. And that is, Srila Prabhupada revealed to us that his spiritual master said to him that if you ever get some money, print books. And so that was Srila Prabhupada. He made that his life and soul. He made the teachings of the spiritual master his life and soul. And that's the greatest, that's the highest level of highest potential of a disciple is to, we sing in the morning, Shri Guru Charana Padma, that prayer is describing how a disciple should make the words of his spiritual master his heart and soul. And to the degree that we are able to do that, to make the words of Srila Prabhupada our life and soul, to that degree, we will receive his full mercy, his full blessings more and more. And our path back to Godhead will be very easy, will be very clear. And so Srila Prabhupada was a prime example of a perfect disciple of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And you can see how in every area of his life, Prabhupada was just stressing, print books, print books, print books. And the excess money that he got, he would build temples because that was also the practical thing to do. He needed to accommodate all the devotees that were coming, all the new disciples. So he built temples, but his main focus was what his spiritual master told him, which was to print books. And so, and Prabhupada would say, yes, it's, my Guru Maharaj called it the Brihat Mridanga, because the ordinary Mridanga, not ordinary, but a Mridanga could be heard just within the surrounding town or village or house, but a book, its vibration is heard through the whole world. And so Brihat means greater, so Bhaktisiddhanta called it the Brihat Mridanga. And so Prabhupada was pressing, print books, distribute books. And that's preaching work. And so Srila Prabhupada really, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta really, we can see how he really paved the way. And we can see how much of his influence what Srila Prabhupada preached, rightly so. Srila Prabhupada was accepting all of us as his followers, not by being born in a family, but by qualification. So he's saying, follow these 4 regulative principles: no meat eating, illicit sex, gambling, intoxication, and chant 16 rounds a day, and that way make yourself qualified. And so this is of course strictly against the caste Brahmana system that Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was defeated. And so thanks to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's work also, and Srila Prabhupada's preaching, we are accepted as Vaishnavas in the world. The world actually accepts the Hare Krishnas. They're we've been established as a bona fide group because of the work of these great acharyas. And otherwise, who knows who we would fall victim to, or maybe we'd be discouraged in this way and that way, like we can't become a Vaishnava because we're not born in a family in India or something. But yeah, Srila Prabhupada, he gave us that such a special gift, which was, qualify yourself in this way, and you're a devotee, you're a brahmana, and that's a big element of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's preaching work, and with any appearance and disappearance of a great soul, another element that Srila Prabhupada stressed was, it's not so much although their bodies are material, are not material, they're spiritual bodies. It's still not so much the physical presence, the physical body of the spiritual master that we're totally focused on. It's really their instructions that they leave, and that's why they come again. Is to leave behind some instructions, some books, some literature, to guide us, and that's another form of the spiritual master is his vibrational, his instruction form, his guidance, and that's the more important form. Although they're both, Prabhupada says neither should be neglected. When the spiritual master is physically present, his physical form should be served, and of course you should follow his instructions. But when the spiritual master disappears, makes his disappearance, he leaves behind this transcendental literature, and that should be taken as his presence. And so in that way, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta is still very much present with us. We have his instructions, and more so though, we have his bona fide disciple, Srila Prabhupada, who is representing him perfectly. And so we go through that chain. And so we're reading Srila Prabhupada's books and following Srila Prabhupada's discipline. And in doing so, we're perfectly following this chain of disciplic succession from Bhaktisiddhanta to Gaura Kishore Das Babaji Maharaj, who was Bhaktisiddhanta's spiritual master, and Bhaktivinoda Thakur, all the way up to Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And the important point to remember, I think, is that these instructions they leave behind are to be remembered as their it's very physical, their physical presence, because this is a physical book. And so that's how we honor them today, is we remember their instructions, we remember their Vani, and we follow it to the best of our ability, and that way we maintain our connection, we maintain our association with them in that way. So although Srila Bhaktisiddhanta has disappeared from our material vision, and Srila Prabhupada has disappeared from our material vision, he's still very much present in other forms, like his murti, his picture, his books, and as we associate with each other based on that understanding, and associate with his books directly, we're directly associating with Prabhupada, or directly taking shelter of Prabhupada, and we're pleasing Prabhupada and pleasing Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. Prabhupada just wanted to please his spiritual master. And so he would often say, as you boys and girls are following my instructions, I'm sure my spiritual master is very pleased. And so that's how we can honor these great acharyas, is by following our spiritual master, who is in that same exact line. So I'll end there, I think, and hope that made some sense. So I welcome
Siddhantic. I experienced you as Siddhantic.
Thank you.
Very aligned with Prabhupada Siddhanta.
Thank you, Parag, for that nice comment. Well, I welcome any questions or comments or realizations or any thoughts.
What is an acharya and what is Vaishnav?
What is a Acharya and what is Vaishnav? Thank you, Rachel. Acharya is one who teaches by example, Srila Prabhupada says. And so a teacher, a spiritual master, one who teaches by example is one definition to give to it. there might be other definitions too, but I think that's mainly what an acharya is. Just one who teaches by example, and all like Srila Prabhupada and Bhaktisiddhanta, they were acharyas, and it's kind of like a name or a position that's it's an exalted position, and it's not for like it's not given away very liberally. It's there's a lot of meaning and significance behind it. And a Vaishnav is a devotee of Krishna. It comes from, I guess, Gaudiya Vaishnavism. That's our lineage. That's Gaudiya comes from Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and Gora, and so Gaudiya Vaishnavism, I guess, is just it means someone who is part of Lord Chaitanya's mission. So Vaishnava is like a devotee of Lord Chaitanya. There's different Vaishnavas also, though. Like there's Sri Vaishnavas, and so
What is the Sri Vaishnava?
from a different school, different sampradaya, they would call it, like Ramanuja Sampradaya, and so they're also regarded as Vaishnavas or devotees. But I guess as far as like the literal translation of Vaishnav, maybe I could refer that to maybe Dear Govinda Prabhu. I don't know if he knows the literal translation or.
Vaishnava comes from Vishnu, and so Vishnu it's a name for God, and Krishna is the original Vishnu. So Ete Chamsa Klapumsa, Krishna's tu Bhagavan Swayam. Krishna is the source. Krishna is the source of all of the expansions of God. So in like the actual scholarly name for the Bhakti yogis, the Hare Krishna is Vaishnavas. I mean, it's a follower of Vishnu. Vishnu is a name of God. It's particularly an expansion of Krishna that kind of deals with the material creation, deals with the prison house, we might say. And so Vaishnava is a name for a follower of Vishnu. Vishnu is a name for God. So and Krishna is the original. Krishna is the source of Vishnu. So Krishna is like the very substratum of all existence, even the source of Vishnu. Because like sometimes people, even in scholarly circles, they'll confuse. Well, the Hare Krishna is like Hinduism. It's definitely not Hinduism. Even in terms of a scholarly point of view, this Vaishnavism, Krishna consciousness, it's actually a whole lot more similar to, I'll call it the Mid-East source spiritual practices like Judaism, Christianity, and Islam. For example, this Krishna consciousness is monotheistic. Now, if we look at something like Hinduism, the common concept, there's millions of gods. So Vaishnavism, Krishna consciousness, it's monotheistic. Or also in the East, you have Buddhism. The idea is it's non-theistic. The ultimate is the void. So that's not what. So actually, this monotheism, it's a whole lot more similar to Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. Yeah. So that all of Hinduism is complete misconception. And so that's Vaishnavism. Vidura Prabhu mentioned Sri Chaitanya. Are you familiar with Sri Chaitanya?
I've heard songs about it. Chaitanya.
This is Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu here.
Is it an incarnation?
Yeah. Sri Krishna Chaitanya, Radha Krishna Nahayan. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's a combined incarnation of Radha and Krishna, of the feminine essence and Krishna, the feminine essence and Krishna. And so Krishna, as the Vidura nicely explained, Krishna wasn't born per se, although sometimes in colloquial speech, Prabhupada referred to the birthday of Krishna, but more technically, Krishna appeared about 5,200 years ago, and he revealed Bhagavad Gita and all the Vedas in his literary incarnation of Vyasadeva, and then about 530 years ago, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared with his associates. And so followers, so it gets a little technical, and so followers of Lord Chaitanya, the Vaishnavas who are in the line of Lord Chaitanya, they're called Gaudiya Vaishnavas. Gaudiya actually refers to a geographical region. Actually refers to a geographical region where where Lord Chaitanya start. Well, I'm not saying start, but he rejuvenated this Krishna consciousness movement in what's now called West Bengal. Again, this is timeless. It's not limited by geography, but that's where Lord Chaitanya rejuvenated the movement. And about 60 years ago, Srila Prabhupada, representing Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, he brought this timeless Sankirtan. Sankirtan means complete glorification of God. This timeless movement to the West. Again, representing Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, his spiritual master. And yeah, it's Vidura nice. So Acharya, it's kind of like a title given to to very special, pure devotees of God. Sometimes Acharya, sometimes we might use it in a more casual term. Like Albert Schweitzer said, there are three main principles in parenting. One, example. Two, example. And three, example. So when we do parenting courses, we'll sometimes mention that. We'll say that's the Acharya principle. So we can say in parenting, we can teach our children, don't do this, do that. At the same time, the most powerful way to teach is to be an Acharya. Okay, that doesn't mean that we're going to be like a pillar of the Sampradaya. Sampradaya is, it's actually, Prabhupada refers Sampradaya as to like a party, a party where it's a line of disciplic succession. And that's why like so many in the name of yoga, this and that, it could be like, it's a question, it's like, what's your disciplic, what's your Sampradaya, what's your parampara? I just went to the yoga center, there's this cool guy, and so then just like this, so like there's, I appreciate Vidura Prabhu, you mentioned how like Bhaktisiddhanta, the great acharyas, Jesus, Srila Prabhupada, they're meek and humble, and Bhaktisiddhanta was the lion guru simultaneously. I'm reminded there's a letter from Srila Prabhupada to Mother Malati, to Malati Prabhu from like 67, the late 60s, and Prabhupada writes to Malati, he writes, we should not be aggressive, and neither should we tolerate any nonsense. So that's the integration, not be aggressive, meek, gentle, and at the same time firm, but we're ready to be fierce to establish boundaries. This is not Siddhanta, this is nonsense. And so there's humility. Same time, there's healthy spiritual pride. Like I feel proud that somehow or other, I'm somehow connected in a line of pure spiritual teachers that includes Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati. Yes. Not that I deserve it or anything like that, because like there's healthy spiritual pride. So we have a line of acharyas going back to Krishna, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. This is our disciplic succession, and there's a lot of bogus, cheating stuff. It's very dangerous, even perverse stuff. Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you. Thank you very much. In the name of spirituality, even in the name of Krishna consciousness or Vaishnavism, and at the same time, there are other disciplic successions, other lines in the Vaishnav line going back to Krishna that are bona fide. It's not that the line through Srila Prabhupada is the only legitimate line. There are other lines that are legitimate, I would say. With Prabhupada, Bhaktisiddhanta, that's by far the most widespread. One of them is the Sri Sampradaya. That's a line that starts with Goddess Lakshmi, the Goddess Lakshmi. You might say her form of Lakshmi is Kali or Durga. And so she has a line that goes through a great acharya who appeared maybe 800 years ago named Ramanujacharya. So that's a bona fide line. So That's some response.
Thank you. I appreciate the definition of acharya. That makes perfect sense, and I think that references someone who like walks their talk.
Well, they're taught nicely, but yeah,
And then also I appreciate the definition of Vishnav, because I remember talking to you before in like Vaishnavism and how it's related to
Yeah.
Vishnu. And when you were sharing about like this way Hare Krishna can be seen as real Vishnu, I was thinking like, does that mean a group? Does that mean like a sect of, so it's an actual individual person,
Vaishnav.
Vaishnav.
Yes, like Vaishnavism is like the school of thought, and then a Vaishnav is a
Devotee.
follower of that school of thought, or a member of that.
Okay,
Yeah,
thank
like
you.
we would all.
we aspire to practice Vaishnavism. One who practices Vaishnavism is a Vaishnava,
Okay,
or a Vaishnavi in the feminine form.
okay, thank you. And then you had mentioned, you said something about like the meek, the quote about A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami saying like, we should be meek and nor should we tolerate nonsense. And then you said sedenta or sedanta?
It's Siddhanta.
And you said, does that mean nonsense?
Siddhanta means the authorized, authentic conclusion of genuine spiritual teachings.
Okay,
So that's Siddhanta.
what about Vedanta? There was one word that you said.
Vedanta.
Okay, is that nonsense?
No,
Okay,
nonsense would be Apasiddhanta.
Apasiddhanta.
Apa means the opposite of Siddhanta, that which is
Oh.
contrary to Siddhanta. So unfortunately, there are many things going on, including in the name of Krishna consciousness, that are Apasiddhanta.
Mhm.
And so Apasiddhanta means nonsense, deviation, misleading, misguiding, misinformation.
Okay,
Even in the name of Prabhupada, there's a lot of Apasiddhanta happening right as we speak. So Siddhanta and Vedanta are similar.
okay.
So today we're honoring Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So
Is that him with the glasses?
correct,
Okay,
you got it.
I got it from your book. On the
So Vedanta is one who has mastered the science of bhakti.
Yeah.
Siddhanta.
Bhakti Vedanta.
Bhakti,
Bhakti is the science
Vedanta
of
is
love.
mastered.
Yeah.
Bhakti, okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
Related to the Vedic knowledge and instructions for several. Bhakti is the science of love. Bhakti Vedanta. See,
Bhakti is the science of.
Bhakti means love. Love for Krishna.
Oh, yeah.
Krishna is the object. When we say love the country, love your wife, but the ultimate object of love is Krishna.
Yeah.
So one who has mastered this love is called Bhakti Vedanta, a transcendental teacher of love.
Who gave him that name?
Bhakti Vedanta Swami Prabhupada. Okay. It was given by the Gaudiya Vaishnava,
Yeah, Vaishnava.
that name honoring him, because he belonged to his spiritual master,
Organization, yeah.
the Gaudiya Math, and they have awarded him that name. He never called himself these titles, but he accepts this title humbly on behalf of the spiritual master. I was when we observed Srila Prabhupada's glorification, like Guru Puja, he sit down, I don't know if you see some videos, and he accepts a lot of worship and garlands and praise. I've noticed personally that Srila Prabhupada doesn't look like very excited about accepting worship. It's always very grave. And I have this realization, and why he's accepting this is not because he wants to be recognized, because he's the Acharya, the spiritual master, is very humble. It's the most humble. So one should not misinterpret that Srila Prabhupada is attached to getting some attention and worship. It's like he does it to instill in us respect for the Acharya, because this is good for us. He doesn't need that. We need to recognize the spiritual master and offer all respects to him. So he accepts worship on behalf of his spiritual master. It's like when we offer our food, we offer it to Srila Prabhupada, our immediate Acharya. And Srila Prabhupada offered this to his guru. And in ascension of that succession, it reaches Krishna. And then after the spiritual master eats, coming down again, we eat. So the actual worshiper of Krishna, because we don't have a direct relationship with the Lord yet.
We don't?
Well, we can see the deity and the picture of Krishna, but we don't have this complete experience of the Lord, like you're looking at me and I'm looking at it directly. We have heard about the Lord. We have read descriptions from the spiritual master about, but he's a self-realized soul. He can see God, and he can speak to God directly. So
We don't pray
yeah,
to Krishna.
An analogy that I heard Srila Prabhupada use that helps, I think helps with understanding. Okay, just like I can say, I want a direct relationship with the print on the page. I don't want any I want a direct relationship. So I'm telling you right now, like it's all blurry, I don't see anything. Okay, now, so it's accurate to say that these glasses, they're in between my eyes and the print. They actually are in between. They get in the way of the direct relationship of my eyes and the print. And the reality is that these glasses, they are in one sense in between. In one sense, it makes the relationship between the eyes and the print indirect. And the glasses enhance my direct relationship with the print. So similarly, by endeavoring to establish our direct relationship with Krishna, if I try to do it, it can seem ironic, but if I try to do it directly, then it's just like, I don't see anything. But if I go through Krishna's pure devotee, and that is the system Krishna established, Krishna actually has places where he says, one who sees himself as my devotee is not my devotee. One who regards themselves as the servant of my devotee, that is my devotee. So the irony of the disciplic sessions, when I endeavor to go to establish my relationship with Krishna through Srila Prabhupada and through Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, through the Parampara, then it's like indirect, and then that enhances my direct relationship with God, with Krishna. To just expand the analogy a bit, same analogy, but let's say a high-powered telescope. Okay, so we can say, well, I want a direct relationship, my eye and the star in the sky. It's not much, but in one sense, the more finely crafted lenses between my eye and the star in finely scientifically refined telescope, the more finely crafted lenses between my eye and the star, the more direct is my relationship with the star. So it's a simultaneous indirect that enhances direct relationship.
I see, thank you. It's like similar to Jesus, like when he died in the veil in the temple, like ripped down the middle because it was symbolic of like, now you don't have to go to a priest, you have like a direct, like through Christ, have a direct connection with God, so it's similar to that.
Yeah, I would, that's my understanding.
now also, we have given a chance to associate with Krishna directly by the chanting of the holy names. The holy name of the Lord is no different than the Lord.
Oh, yeah.
So that's one way to bypass the limitation of not seeing Krishna directly. But also we cannot, also the deity of the Lord, the form of Krishna that we worship in the temple, like that is also the Lord in his non-moving form. He appears in the form of stone or wood or clay. So, because we only have the capacity to see that. So he accepts the worship of the deity made out of marble, perhaps, or wood, like Lord Jagannath. And so that's a direct way to associate with the Lord. But the moving form of the Lord, active form of the Lord, where he's joking or loving his girlfriends, it can only be perceived by those who are complete in their pure devotional service. They can see the Lord directly. But we can approach Krishna directly through the chanting of his holy name, because the holy name is so pure that it's no different than the person Krishna.
I see, he's loving his girlfriends?
Krishna, oh well, that's a different subject. Krishna has families in the spiritual world, which is the beauty of the Brahma Samhita that Lord Chaitanya picked up as one of the most important books. The other one is the Karnamrita, which I don't know very much about. Is because in the Brahma Samhita, Krishna is a person, somebody, a person that has associates, and there is the spiritual world and places where you have your associates. Like, like we are associates, we are in this room, and we are in Alacho, and we are in Florida, and we are in America. So the spiritual world is actually a place. It's the original place. This is the copy. The material world is the perverted reflection of the spiritual world. There is variety in the spiritual world, and the material world is just mirroring pervertedly the variety of the spiritual world. So the beauty of this Brahma Samhita is that, like, the materialistic philosophers and poets, they describe some utopic place, some ideal place, but it's only imaginary. But it has a good.
There's a basis for it.
Yeah, they have an idea.
Yeah.
That there is an ideal place, a beautiful place where I hope people will hope they never die, they never get old, and because they're not connected with the absolute truth of things, how they are in its original form, they become very morose and sad and unhappy. But they always want something to last, like a marriage or a relationship. People, but this instinctively is actually, it has a place, a resting place.
Yeah, just like from a shadow of a tree, or shadow of a person, or shadow of a building. From a shadow, we don't really have any idea about what the actual tree is like.
Yeah.
At the same time, from the shadow, we can know for certain the actual tree exists, and the actual building, the actual person. And I'm giving an analogy that Krishna gives at the beginning of the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita. And he talks about the reflection of a tree on a lake. So similarly, whatever exists in this room, it's really the shadow, and that's why it's not satisfying, whether it's material friendship, material romance, material variety, material dancing. So it's like, at the same time, the shadow indicates, there's spiritual romance, there's spiritual parenthood, there's spiritual friendship, there's spiritual service, there's spiritual humor, there's spiritual music and dancing and flute, there's spiritual food. The shadow indicates the existence of the substance. From the shadow itself, though, we don't get any clear idea of what the substance like, what it smells like, what it feels like, but we can know it exists. And so Srila Prabhupada gives a beautiful example, really following in the line of Bhaktisiddhanta. He gives an example from geometry. Okay, so in the 15th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna talks to Arjuna about a tree with its branches down and its roots up. Branches down. What?
Banyan tree.
The banyan tree, exactly. Yeah. So we can see such a thing if we're on a lake, and on the other side of the lake, there's the tree. So there's the reflection of the tree. The branches are down and the roots are up. And so this is exalted philosophy. So Krishna makes the point. that, like let's say we try to get the actual fig or the mango from the reflection. It's ephemeral. There's no substance there. And as Bhaddiwaj Prabhu nicely pointed out, that there's many material philosophers, poets, music, songwriters, and they understand this. It's all illusion. I know back in the 70s there was a rock band, and the whole album was called The Grand Illusion. And it's true, and there's a lot of there's truth to that. This is all ephemeral. There's no real happiness here. It's just a shadow. True. But then Prabhupada makes the point. But that's just 180 degrees. A circle is 360 degrees. Right? So what's the other 180 degrees? So 180 degrees, that's the reflection, that's the false. But the other 100, that's the real banyan tree where there's real fruit and real leaves and real twigs. And so so there's a real relationship that's secure and filled with eternity, knowledge, and bliss ever increasing, and a happiness that's not dependent, that's not dependent on anything external. And so bhakti, so there's so many philosophies that accurately kind of expose the illusion of the material shadow, sure. But then bhakti is the not just philosophy, it's the process that brings us to experience of the real banyan tree, the real thing that we're really hankering for. Cheto, Darpana, Marjana. A related example, Srila Prabhupada will give the example of like an animal, could be a human animal, say running in the desert, hot desert, and the animal sees, there's an oasis, there's water about 50 yards. It runs, but it's just a mirage. Oh, but just 100 yards over there. No, that's just a mirage. And then eventually the animal just dies and like that, because there's no water. But that's not true. There is water. There's just not water in the desert. And so chasing the water, the actual fulfillment and bliss that's self-satisfying in connection with the soul, alive to itself in service to Krishna, we're not going to get that in the shadow world, but that does exist, and that's bhakti opens the door to that. So there is water, but it's just not in the desert. So in Bhagavad Gita, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, these acharyas, Jesus, they're encouraging, they're not forcing them, and they're encouraging us. Stop the futility, stop the misery of looking for a few drops of water in the desert. You're not going to get it. And even if you get a few drops, you're not going to be satisfied. You're not going to be satisfied. We want oceans and oceans. We want ever expanding bliss, and that's available. That's available in spiritual romance, spiritual friendship, spiritual dancing, and that's bhakti. That experience is available in ever increasing measures. Hare Krishna.
So the material world is real, but it's an illusory reality. It is a perverted reflection of the spiritual world. It's an idea of what is the original only. So it's illusory, like the banyan tree reflected. You are looking at the reflection, but you're not thinking that this is the actual reality. So it's an illusory reality. So the relative material world is real. It is there. We can touch it. We can taste it. But to think of it as the true reality is illusory. So we are given the chance to understand that there is a spiritual world with full of variety. So as we were saying, Krishna has a family. So he has friends, but that's a very deep understanding of Krishna consciousness. Srila Prabhupada taking us by the hand to take us to that realization, which is a little more advanced, and we get the chance to be part of this. So you're asking really good questions.
Intelligent, deep questions. Yeah, we have family, we have friends, but God's not allowed to. How does that make sense? That's, yeah, we like to dance and sing and music, and we like to communicate, but God's just allowed to be this white light. That's all. No, Janmadyasya Yataha. That's where the Bhagavatam starts. That's where the Bhagavatam, Janmadyasya Yata Yaton Daya Ditratash Chateshva Biyeshu Svara Teni Brahmudi Adhikari Miyantiyat Sadaya Brahma Samhita. He revealed the truth into the heart of the. So nothing can exist in the effect that does not exist in the source. So if we like to relate, and we like friendship and romance, and we like adventure, and we like sports, so that must exist in the pure form, in the world of Krishna, in the world of the source. How can we deny it?
Yeah.
How can we deny it?
I never, I guess, thought about like in terms of like spiritual romance, because, and I really appreciate Krishna and Radha.
Yeah.
Like being like, I guess, two sides of the same coin and representing like the divine feminine and divine masculine. That's something that is lacking, like clearly lacking in faith that I've like had be a part of my life for my whole life. And so yeah, that's a new concept for me, because I've never heard or had an image of like God with a partner. I have heard image of like God having like wrestling with people, like coming to human form and
With
like
Jacob.
yeah,
Yeah, sure.
and like wrestle with God, and like so I feel like God having friends, like that's familiar. And then also like dancing and worshiping, I feel like I've heard about like devotees of God or like
King David dancing in ecstasy.
Yes, so that's really beautiful, and I'm really appreciating this discussion and this idea of like the reflection in the water, and how there's other things that I haven't considered that are like aspects of God, or like pure encapsulations of like the holy spiritual way, and that we get like, I feel like we get inspiration to emulate that in our own material worldy way.
So there are also devotees related to the Lord in two different ways, as intimate, brother, sisters, lover, father, mother. But also there are in Vaikuntha, the extension of Goloka, Krishna is worshipped in reverential mood, reverential.
Reverential.
Yeah, with awe and reverence, we see them as God. While in Goloka is the most intimate part of the spiritual planets, Krishna is seen more familiarity,
yes,
and awe and reverence. It depends on what your desire,
yeah,
what your capacity of love for Krishna. You can either be placed in the Vaikuntha planets, where Krishna is worshipped with the Vaikuntha planet. I like it when he speaks.
Take it away.
Yeah, okay, so it's kind of like, okay, so in material existence means we're forgetful of God, we're forgetful of Krishna. We think we're trying to do our own God project, the David Wolf God project, the Rachel Hunt God project, and I'm the center. The David Wolf God project is actually a great idea. The only problem is not everyone else agrees that David Wolf should be the center of the universe. And if just everyone would agree, everything would be fine. But anyhow, so we're all trying to do our God projects, and there's a lot of clash in ourselves and in our relationships and wars. And like that's called we're all trying to do our own God project. Okay. So that's forgetfulness of God. So again, it's the value. So everything that exists in the shadow must exist in the original. So our forgetfulness is alienating, and it moves us further and further away from our blissful self and from Krishna. That's ignorance, our forgetfulness. Okay, all right. But then there's just like the spiritual romance and spiritual friendship, and then there's spiritual forgetfulness. So like Mother Yashoda, or the gopis who dance with Krishna, or the cowherd boys who wrestle with Krishna. They're actually they're in complete forgetfulness that Krishna is the supreme personality of Godhead, and that Krishna is the one who's responsible for the rotation of the sun and the stars and the creation of all energies and the oceans. They just think Krishna's my friend and I just defeated him in wrestling. That's it. And that is so pleasing to Krishna.
Right.
That is so, and Mother Yashoda, she's also forgetful. She's forgetting the Krishna. She's just think like, Krishna just ate dirt and he's going to get sick. He's going to get sick. And I need to chastise him to teach this little boy a lesson because he's like so naughty. And he's like, I need to protect him because that's it. And so that's more dear. That's more dear to Krishna than those who worship him with awe and reverence.
The personal relationship,
The personal
and
relation.
nothing blocking it.
Yeah. The gopis, they're not cognizant that Krishna is the supreme controller of all of the planetary systems. They just think like, he's this attractive boy who likes me. Wow. Okay. And so there's all these varieties of relationships, and that's more dear to Krishna. That's more dear to Krishna. And so yes. And so at the same time, we don't want to imitate that. We want to be inspired by devotees who are in that level of true spiritual forgetfulness. Our basic relationship with Krishna is that we're very attracted to Krishna's energy called Maya. That's basically right.
But that's bad.
What's that?
Isn't Maya bad?
Bad. Maya means the force of illusion, right? So that's where we're at. So we're encouraged to be inspired by these very intimate relationships with Krishna, but not to imitate, not to think like my romance in this world, my friendship in this world, that's like Krishna and the gopis. No, that'll get us into big trouble. Big trouble. Okay.
Right.
Okay. Rather, we're encouraged to serve Krishna in a mood of awe and reverence. That's the Vaikuntha mood, the mood of awe and reverence. And by serving Krishna in a mood of awe and reverence, because the kind of for those intimate relationships to be revealed, really, that requires that our heart is completely free of grudges. No more lust, envy, greed, just full pure devotion. And then on that platform, then Krishna and Srila Prabhupada reveal that more eternal, intimate relationship. In the meantime, we can read about those intimate relationships. Mother Yashoda, the gopis, be inspired, be purified. And in our personal service, to relate to Radha Krishna in a mood of awe and reverence, in a mood of awe and reverence. So we don't want to fall into a trap of thinking like our emotions here and our relationship here, that's like the pure form. To get to the pure form, the pure romance, the pure friendship, requires that we're very austere and we give up all gross and subtle forms of material satisfaction and do austerity and discussions like this, and winning program, and rigorously chant our rounds, whether we feel like it or not. And then gradually those more intimate relationships get revealed. An example that comes to mind that Prabhupada uses is like, let's say there's a big Prabhupada uses an example, a big powerful politician or a business magnate. And he has people practically worshiping him, like, oh yeah, can I have a job? Can I have a position? And people awe and reverence, big, like that. And Prabhupada tells the story, there was this big important person, and someone came to visit. He had a meeting, and the secretary said, he's busy now. He's not available yet, not available. So the person was waiting, and the secretary wasn't looking. And then the person peeked in the door, because there was this important meeting going on. And so the person peeked in, and this big important person was playing horsey for his grandchild, like that. Okay. Was playing horsey. Okay. So, yeah. So Prabhupada makes the point as an example that this person has so many friendship and business relationships and awe and reverence relationships. But we can imagine he was so much more enjoying playing horsey than the official.
Yes.
We respect you so much. You're a big you're honored at this conference. Nice, but he's so much more enjoying playing horsey for his grandchild. So
My God.
yeah, so Krishna is so much more enjoying those devotees. So see, Mother Yashoda and the gopis and the cowherd boys, their forgetfulness deepens their love for Krishna. Our Maya forgetfulness just deepens our alienation from Krishna and deepens our ignorance about who we are as spirit souls. So there's the shadow, ignorance and forgetfulness, but there's spiritual forgetfulness, just like there's spiritual friendship like that. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Yoga Maya.
James.
I really appreciate that, like personal Christian wine, personal relationship, connecting with Bhagavad Gita and his relationship with Arjuna. And that Arjuna is like Krishna's best friend.
Yeah.
And then in chapter 2, Arjuna changes his mood to be Krishna's disciple.
Yeah.
And Krishna's like pleased in that moment. He's like,
Yeah.
I got him, was like, wow, nice, I get to be in this other relationship. Like he loves playing in the different relationships. And then I'm connecting, I think the chapter is called Universal Form.
Universal,
Yeah.
that chapter, yeah.
Yeah, and then he where he reveals himself to Krishna, to Arjuna, that's outside of like a real way to personally relate. And Arjuna comes out and just says, "Oh, these obeisances and
Yeah.
awe," and he's struck. But I got Krishna in that chapter, at least in my memory of it, is like kind of reluctant to show that form and not so interested in relating to anybody in that way. Like he wants that personal relationship, and yet for Arjuna it was like really important to see Krishna and to really know that you're the controller, you're everything, you know. And so I got it. That was so it's interesting that especially for us who are covered in the material world, it's the universal form is important because it's like that helps me surrender to realize that this is like God is this big, this maha. And then from there, then I can have an authentic, real relationship, and hopefully forget again. And hopefully forget the universal form
On the other side.
On the other side, yeah.
I love those examples. They're so appropriate. And so Krishna says, Aham sarvasya prabhavo matasabam pravartate himatva bhajantamam buddha bhava samambita. It's like those who understand that I'm the source of all material and spiritual worlds and planetary systems, naturally they surrender to me and serve me with love and devotion. So that greatness, that great, that's why we don't want to artificially try to become familiar and intimate with Krishna. So for Arjuna, that was so helpful. And then at the closure of that chapter, Arjuna says, wow, this is the all-powerful personality. I said, and I actually prefer your two other forms. Can we just be friends? That's his rasa. So we want to cultivate the awe and reverence
Mood.
and at the same time be inspired by those more intimate rasas without trying to imitate them.
What does Sindhu mean?
Sindhu?
Cause rasa, mood.
You have a friend, Rasa Sindhu. Sindhu means, we have a mutual friend, Rasa Sindhu. Rasa Sindhu Das took the courses with Rachel. Sindhu means ocean.
Bhakti Rasamrita.
Yeah, Bhakti Rasamrita. So Rasa Sindhu Das means servant. So it means Krishna is the ocean. Rasa means relationship, flavor, taste. Just like friendship has a taste, romance has a taste, adventure has a taste, fighting has a taste, being a servant of a master has a taste. All the different relationships have tastes. So rasa means taste, or the different flavors of relationship. So Krishna is the ocean of all the rasas. He's the ocean of all the flavors of relationship. So the ultimate reservoir of all the sweet variety of taste in all the relationships, that's Krishna. So he's a servant of Krishna, who's the ocean of all the flavors of
Amrita,
of Amrita, of the nectar of relationship. Rasamrita Sindhu. So that's the meaning of your friend's name.
Thank you.
Thanks.
He's home.
Yeah. In Vrindavan.
In Vrindavan?
Yeah, it's
Vrindavan is
wasn't
a real place.
Huh?
Vrindavan is a real place.
Yeah, it's a real place, yeah.
What about the other? Didn't you mention they were at something Vrindavan and then there's another planet?
Well, but he
Vaikuntha.
Vaikunta.
Yeah, yeah, right. And well, if we get to the whole cosmology, it gets kind of complex. But so we won't do that in 5 minutes.
Okay.
But basically, just like they're just, it's complex. But just like there's material astronomy, there's different planets and solar systems and galaxies. So then that's just the shadow. Then there's the real cosmology. There's material astronomy, as Vidura was saying, it's real. It's real, but the way we perceive matter is false. Because like this body is real, but I'm thinking I am this body. Okay, so then that's an illusion. That I'm the controller. I'm the enjoyer. No, this is all Krishna's energy. I'm just renting this body, And it's and if I use this to the extent I use this body in Krishna's service on behalf of Srila Prabhupada, then I spiritualize this body. That's how we can spiritualize the material world. So, yeah, so there's spiritual planetary systems, and the highest, topmost, most essential at the core spiritual planetary system is called Goloka Vrindavan, and we have a window to it. That's called Vrindavan.
Like Vrinda's name is the Vrinda in Vrindavan?
That's it,
What is
yeah.
Vrinda, what does it mean?
Is the name honoring Tulsi Devi,
Oh, Tulsi.
right?
Tulsa.
Brinda Devi.
And then
She's the queen of Brinda.
and then there are more outer spiritual planetary systems called the Vaikuntha, completely spiritual, where the relationships, as Vadiraj, the relationships with Krishna, it's spiritual
That's
and it's
personal.
awe and reverence.
Because he's married over there.
Yeah,
He's married.
He's
He
married.
has a queen, yeah.
Okay. In Vrindavan,
No, in Vaikuntha.
in Vaikunta.
Yeah, in Vrindavan Goloka, he has girlfriends.
Oh, I see.
Yeah,
Okay.
like I said, it doesn't take more than 5 minutes.
In Goloka, he's like a youthful boy sporting with his cowherd friends and boys, cowherd friends, and he has
Girlfriends.
he has girlfriends, and where he engages with dancing with them, and so that's one mood, and in Dwarka is another mood where he's like a king in a palatial.
Mhm.
But simultaneously in Goloka, he appears in different ages for different
for different process, for different relationships.
Like when
Who is a man?
it resembles the form of a human.
I feel irritated just now. Like God's enjoying the male body in these different forms and
Well, what about Mohini Murti?
who's that?
That's God in the form of a beautiful woman.
I never heard of Mohini.
8th Canto Srimad Bhagavatam. Haven't read that yet.
Oh my God, Google it.
Google it.
Yeah, it will be there.
It's God in the form of a beautiful woman.
Very nice.
Mohini Murti.
Everything comes from Krishna. So if there is this, it's originally found in Krishna, the resting place. He's the most beautiful everything, the most beautiful. He descends to this material world in a human form, but his human form means he has 2 arms, 2 legs, right? So fools deride me when I descend into this human form, considering
It's very biblical, right? Right in the beginning of Genesis, the Hebrew is B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim et hashamayim v'et haaretz. That's the first line of the Old Testament. In the beginning, God created heaven and earth. Bereshit. Oh, and by the way, so it's translated, whether you look at a Christian or Jewish translation, as in the beginning, God created heaven and earth. But the actual Hebrew is Bereshit. In the beginning, in the biblical Hebrew, would be Bareshit, but doesn't say that. Bereshit actually translates as in a beginning, which is completely consistent with the cyclical paradigm of time described in the Vedas. The Hebrew says in a beginning, not in the beginning.
That's a huge difference.
Yeah, huge difference, and that's what it
Where,
says.
how am I gonna find like the legit, true scripture? Like, where is it? How do you find this? It's like, it's a puzzle.
Well, that's it's a risk.
It's not
Yeah,
fair.
Mm.
It's hard work.
That relates to what we were saying earlier, which is like, Jesus is a pure devotee of charity. But to find, I'm not saying it's about, but to find something coming down in the name of Jesus as the actually authentic thing, quite difficult.
Yeah.
Because even that what I just said, that's the first line of the Bible. That's the first line. And we might find like 5,000, we might find 5,000 deviations like
Yeah.
that. Whereas like
Outrageous.
Srila Prabhupada, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, they're representing Krishna. Exactly.
Truth.
So truth, so full potency. So Jesus has the full potency, but even in the first line of the Bible, whether it's the Christian or Jewish translation, you got it wrong.
Yeah.
And so then later in Genesis, the same book, it says, B'Tselem Elohim, which said that God created humans in his image. The word, I remember when I learned street Hebrew, colloquial Hebrew, and the word for photocopy, this was back in the 80s when I was learning, 83, 84, is tzilum. And so that's the word used in that God uses. That and sometimes Prabhupada uses, he describes the material world, it's a facsimile. It's like a facsimile of the real banyan tree. So God created humans. He made a photocopy. So we can say it's God has a human-like form, but really we have a Krishna-like form. We have a God-like form. So that's we have a God-like form.
Because at the beginning, there was Krishna. If you want something more than that, there is nothing more than
No,
that. He's the ultimate.
Oh, yeah. No, I totally agree with you. Like,
I mean, if we want something.
I feel sad. Like, I feel sad that I want to know truth and a source of truth that I have gotten to that I already knew was fallible. And it's even more like wah based on what you just said. It's like,
So you have to be fortunate enough to have a bona fide spiritual master who
Yes.
can reconcile all apparent contradictions and
where do I
gaps.
need to go to find this person is what I'd like to know.
Read
What do I need to do?
Bhagavad Gita as it is.
I mean, there is truth in that, and like I want like the pure. I want the pure, like the testaments that I grew up with, that are like true to me. Like I'm feeling like very appreciative of, especially all the time. I feel like I'm really dominating the discussion, and like, thank you for.
This is what time is for.
Thank you.
This is the best use of time.
Thank you, and thank you for indulging and explaining patiently these things to me, and I'm very appreciative of what I'm learning and what I'm hearing, and like I get like so many gems and truths from like these sources, and like there's something near and dear to my heart that is a spiritual work, and
you're probably very challenged to get an authentic, authorized version of it.
I feel like I wanna cry. I feel like
It's painful.
deflated, like it's a fool's errand almost, because you think you found something and it's like, oh, actually. They couldn't even translate the first verse right, so I'm really,
We are here for a reason.
oh yeah.
God put me here for a reason.
No accidents.
Mm-mm.
They said the first letter they got wrong. I'm not trying to pile on here. But
Thanks, David. Tell me more about what's wrong with
As
it.
soon as I can mess it up.
Where do we begin? Let's begin with the first letter.
The way Prabhupada describes it, puts it in context, is Jesus Christ, a pure devotee, Acharya. He taught according to time, place, and circumstance, like the Acharya teaches, and so what he taught was the absolute truth, was essentially Vaishnava principles, but it was it was according to what the people
I know.
at that time could comprehend. And so there was more, like Jesus Christ says there's much more.
Much more I have to tell you, you're not ready to
You're not
bear.
ready to bear.
So you have lower stages of devotion, and then you have higher stages of devotion.
And so like,
So moral principles are in the lower stage. These are transcendental principles of, like what we're describing about Krishna and his associates. So Jesus Christ was teaching according to the mentality of the people. He was adjusting to bring them further. They have to surrender more, and they have to increase their faith.
He wasn't gonna wear a tuxedo to the beach. Sorry.
inside joke. But yeah, well, you could, what Srila Prabhupada is presenting is really the way we see it is an expansion of Jesus, of true Christian principles. He's expanding and giving what Jesus Christ didn't choose to give at that time.
I like how you say choose to. It's not that Jesus didn't have all this.
No,
yeah.
He knew it all. And he spoke according to time and circumstance, just like a math teacher is always going to meet people where they're at and expand their enthusiasm for math. So maybe to the first grader teaching addition and subtraction, to the postdoc teaching integral calculus, but the principles are always the same. The principles are always the same. But the teacher's going to meet people where they're at. So
Jesus is our spiritual master also.
Why were the people in that day and time retarded that they couldn't like handle, like really, like I feel bitter, feeling
I
bitterness.
hear you. It's emotional for you.
Yeah,
I get that.
I feel shortchanged.
Just as an example, to pile on a little bit.
You love it.
Okay, for example, before the 10 Commandments, there's other commandments. They're called the Noahide commandments. And God is telling the people in the Old Testament, he's saying, he's saying, don't slice off the limb of an animal and just eat the limb. If you want to eat meat, and in the first chapter of Genesis, God is very clear, the ideal diet for humans is vegetarian. I'm not Vedas here, this is just Bible. You know, fruit and vegetables, seeds, that's the ideal. But then later, God said, okay, if you want to eat meat, don't unnecessarily torture the animal, just kill the animal. So what's it mean? It means God was talking to people who were doing things like slicing the limbs off animals and chopping on the limbs. Okay, so Krishna in Bhagavad Gita doesn't need to tell Arjuna, don't torture animals for fun. So, because like Arjuna is like quite an evolved being, he's quite an evolved being. So people who are like enjoying torturing animals, no, they're not ready to hear about the pastimes of Goloka Vrindavan. They're ready to hear about, this is just fact.
Yeah.
They're ready to hear about the laws of kosher. Okay?
Yeah.
Don't boil a calf in the milk of its mother. Don't just slice off the limb and enjoy the animal being tortured. That's who God's talking to, just fact.
Barbarians.
Yeah. And now if someone just kills the animal for me, God's not saying, I am so happy with you. No, he says in the Bible, he says, I'm sick of your burnt offering. So I'm not happy, but it's better than torturing the animal. The ideal diet is in the first chapter. So that's who he's talking to. That's who Jesus was talking to. Hare Krishna.
To bring him gradually to the higher standard.
Like you probably don't need to be told not to murder people. Well, maybe they did at the time.
I see there's a comment from Jeremy. Someone wants to check the chat.
Yes.
James, you want to get Prashad?
Yeah,
That's good.
I'll see you right away.
Prashad. I see there's a chat.
Thank you, Arjuna Prabhu, for appreciating that. He says that, thank you for a wonderful class, Vidura Prabhu, and also for discussion of all assembled devotees. I have to go, Hare Krishna. Jeremy says, how come Jesus knew how come Jesus knew this and did not share this information with us to make us work less so we can understand easier? It's not fair.
Not fair.
And there's more.
I think Jesus addresses them, he says, you're not ready to bear.
There's more you can.
There's more, there's more.
Oh, yeah. Jesus.
I think-
First things first, they have to give up,
Jesus.
Stealing.
Yeah.
they have to give up stealing, they have to give up committing adultery, they have to give all the 10 commandments in order for going to the next step.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
A,
like-
B, C, D, then
Yeah.
F, G, H,
Oh,
X,
yeah.
Y, Z.
And it makes perfect sense, it's just like, yeah. Same.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you, Jeremy, for your questions and everybody for joining in. Should I end it now?
What's that?
Should I end it?
Oh,
Should
is Jeremy there?
Jeremy's still here.
This.
So we can keep it on,
Keep it on, okay.
if he's.
Okay, yeah, you like to keep it going, yeah.
She asked the question.
Rosa,
I'm curious about the viewpoint of where we are now as a world and the information that can be revealed today, because my personal experience about Kali Yuga and how that's described is we're just entrenched in,
materialism, illusion,
yeah, I mean, how far have we evolved since Jesus's time? I don't think we've
we probably devo.
it's not going too good. So
Just talking about this today. I remember being like, good job, human race, and I forget like exactly the point, but this was part of our conversation, it's like. We really haven't like made many steps.
No, we probably devo, that's why it's like special grace, special mercy. But yeah, like, I'm certainly not deserving of all this spiritual, wonderful wisdom and knowledge. I'm not deserving of it. So it's like it's special grace, not that we should think we're deserving of it. And it's described, the Kali Yuga going to get worse and worse.
It had to be Kali Yuga, why can't it be a male of God's time? That's shit.
That's a different Kali. The demigoddess Kali that you're familiar with, it's a different spelling.
Oh,
Yeah, so when Kali Yuga is a male personality.
okay, good.
Yeah. It's a different, because the Kali you're familiar with, the Kali Yuga has like a long I and a long A.
Okay,
So it sounds so, but it's actually a different, it's a male personality.
thank you.
And it's described in the Bhagavatam, it's quite a wicked male personality is kind of running things.
Okay.
But of course, he's just under Maya himself. So it's a different thing, so thanks for mentioning, that. We can make the distinction.
There was one more little like thing that came to mind because I know that like. It's a like more monotheistic and at the same time, like we do reference like personalities in the form of like these demigods and stuff like that. So like how is that kind of?
One God,
Yeah.
just like, let's say the analogy, let's say there's one king or one queen.
Yeah.
Yeah, they might have many ministers. They might have many ministers and many assistants. So that's it. So one God with many different names, many expansions, many assistants. If we get into the details, it gets complex. It won't be 5 minutes that we get that all. But so like there's many ministers, secretaries, administrative assistants who are assistants to the emperor, the queen, the king.
God is one and the living entities are many.
Yeah, Ego Vahusham.
Question came up for me, which is you were describing Vaishnavism and worship of Vishnu. Krishna is the ultimate Vishnu. Is there bhakti, which is devotion and love, but isn't for Vishnu, is for, I don't know.
You know, actually, bhakti by definition means for Vishnu,
Okay.
or some Vishnu form, like the original Vishnu is Krishna. You can't really have bhakti, by definition, you can't have bhakti for an administrative assistant.
Okay.
Bhakti needs to be for the king or the queen, Radha Krishna.
Oh, do you mean like having bhakti for like a Kali or Shiva or something?
Exactly, so I don't remember, there's three, the primary personalities, it's like Brahma,
Vishnu, Brahma, and Shiva.
Krishna, Brahma, and Shiva, right?
Shiva's in charge of the mode of ignorance. Brahma's in charge of the mode of rajas or passion.
Mm.
Vishnu kind of manages sattva or goodness.
Yeah, Krishna is the ultimate object of love. And you can love, we can love each other as God brothers and sisters in relationship with Krishna. But bhakti, strictly speaking, is a affection towards the Lord, towards Krishna, exclusively.
Right. But what's called love in the material sphere, material consciousness, is actually lust. It's actually lust. So actual bhakti is for Krishna. And we can have real love for each other to the extent that God's truly in the center of our relationship.
So if you love Krishna, you love everything and everybody. But not necessarily, if you love everybody, you might love Krishna, not necessarily.
I didn't know the relationship.
So he's the reservoir of all pleasure. What's that?
I didn't know the relationship between those three personalities and the modes of existence, so thank you for that expansion. That
Yeah.
makes sense.
And Shiva, Vaishnavan Yata Sambhu, Shiva is the greatest devotee of Krishna. Vaishnavan, Shiva is the greatest Vaishnava. That's a verse from the Vedas. And Brahma, just we heard today, Brahma is the greatest devotee of Krishna. Govinda, the cowherd boy. He's singing Govinda Madi Purusham Tamaham Bhajana. So Brahma and Shiva, Eklayeshvara Krishna, Arasambhavicha. Brahma and Shiva, they're servants of Radha Krishna.
They're the qualities incarnation of the Lord. One represents the mode of ignorance.
Representing qualities.
Yeah, they're expansions of the qualities of the Lord. They're qualitatively expansions of the Lord. Brahma represents the modes of passion because he creates, builds things. And Lord Shiva represents the modes of ignorance.
Which is tamas.
Exactly, but not to think that they are in the mode of ignorance themselves. They represent these modes. They encourage those who want to remain in that mode. But at the same time, they reveal that there is more than just these modes.
Wow.
So they accommodate.
It's like God meeting, it's like there's one God and God kind of like
He expands.
meeting people where they are.
Yes,
With the different
exactly.
personalities, which is amazing, isn't
That's interesting.
And you don't want to remain in the material modes of
Right.
ignorance and passion. You want to go beyond the goodness, the spiritual goodness, the transcendental goodness, because the transcendental goodness is beyond morality of the helping people, helping the poor, growing nice garden, living around lakes and swans, and the mode of goodness, eating the right foods. But there is transcendental goodness beyond the material goodness, which is also temporary. So
Yeah, it rains over 6 months.
Vishnu is the maintainer. Brahma is the creator, and Lord Shiva is in charge of the modes of ignorance.
Because
Lord
Shiva's
Shiva-
the destroyer.
Shiva also destroys, yeah. Brahma creates, Shiva destroys. Right. He's in charge of destroying this material cosmic manifestation by fire. But Vishnu is the highest form because he represents the mode of goodness, the maintainer. He maintains. It's more difficult to maintain than to create and to destroy.
I know that's
So
right.
Krishna always, you can burn the whole neighborhood, one person can do that. So all these things, I joined like in 1972. After I was a hippie, don't dive in there, all of it. And you study slowly, with patience and faith and love and trust. So I trust Srila Prabhupada, and Srila Prabhupada have carried me all the way to, I'm 73 now, my body. And this is Vidura is my son, and he married her, and I have another daughter. And that's quite a long time. I mean, in my limited, time in my body, I'm learning more. As I open Srila Prabhupada's books, and even today, I learn more about Krishna consciousness. You can, it takes a long time to read all Srila Prabhupada's books, but to understand them it might take longer.
Take longer, thank you.
Oh. Thank you so much. I like it when dear Govinda speaks. It's very scholarly. English is my second language. I have more to say, but I'm limited because of the language. Yeah. I have to trust.
I appreciated your additions and the things that you were saying, though. Thank you very much.
Your English is perfect to me. I appreciate there's more that you could say and share, and it was helpful for me. The way you were explaining some things and like the combination of your explanation, his explanation, because it also helps me to hear things different ways.
In the different angles.
And from different angles, yeah. And to hear things multiple times.
Yeah, you ladies are, you learn, and I'm very educated, very, it's not easy to preach to you. Because your questions are very challenging.
Oh, yeah.
Very challenging, and it tests my understanding of Krishna consciousness. That's why sometimes I want to refer you to him, because I'm not able to deliver what I already know, but I know he'll be able to put it into, to verbalize it.
Yeah, you wanna be like fully supportive of like our understanding and that we get the best answer like from you and from David about to answer our questions.
We have to convey properly what we're hearing from Srila Prabhupada. I admire him. I am Srila Govinda Prabhupada.
So do I.
So, reading the Bhagavad Gita, right, and like studying and doing things, and I learned the meaning of Dira and Govinda, so his name, right? Undisturbable, that's sober one, right? And then Govinda is reference to like God's name, and that he is the bringer of pleasure to the senses.
And the cows.
And to the
And the
cows.
cows.
And so what I experience him as is his ability, like he's kind of sober, right? But his ability to deliver information the way that it can be well received is just amazing.
Yeah, it's remarkable.
We can meet people exactly where they are and provide information in the way that they can take them.
Yeah, and you know what I discovered is that Srila Prabhupada gave us names. Prabhupada gave us names. And generally, it seems to me that the names of those persons that Srila Prabhupada, they have similar quality to their names. You know, in general, you know, that we are all Krishna Das.
And then I wonder, right? And this is just it's not a real question. It's a like an enjoyment, curiosity that I have in that, is it that he could see? You know, see in, or is it the power of the name that creates the quality of the person? You know what I mean?
The power
Of the name when given, that gives the person that quality.
or harmonizes with the person. I mean, like, you know, my name is Vidura, one who speaks. So I like to speak. I like to read. I like to analyze. I like to dissect things. And I'm very, I will not say impatient, but when I read Srila Prabhupada's books, I want to dissect it in a short way, like a surgically. So I'm able to convey it to myself and to my family and to the people I meet, to be clear. But we always refer everyone to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada's books. Because even if you come to Krishna consciousness today, and I came long time ago, that is not the definition of seniority. Seniority is not like I came first, I've been around for 35, 45 years. No, it's how much understanding and knowledge you have and devotion and spiritual progress, but tested by how much dedication and surrender you have.
It's like he was saying about the was it the brahmacharis, right? So at one point it was about succession, right? So a Brahma born from a Brahma family would be Brahma, but it doesn't necessarily mean anything. Thank you.
No,
That's good. Thank you so much.
and that caste Brahman system in India have spoiled the very culture, right? But no. I'm good. Thank you so much.
Part of the culture. It's not that it doesn't mean anything. We can use the example. Let's say one baby is born to a family and the parents for many generations are surgeons and physicians. And another baby is born to a family, whatever, just destitute, drugs, you get the picture. Now, look, statistically speaking, which baby has a better chance to become a physician? It's the one born in the physician family. But it's not automatic. You know, life could unfold. The baby born in the family of physicians ends up homeless on the street, addicted to drugs, and the baby born to the crack family just focuses in and becomes a brain surgeon.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh, you're born in this family. Oh, now you're 3 years old. Here's the scalpels. You know, stuff. So it's not like the birth doesn't matter, but it's not in any way a determining factor. But so that's the example.
But what you were saying the other day about was it intention is met with providence?
Yeah, once one commits, then providence moves. Yeah.
And that reminds me of that when we are not in privileged circumstances.
Yeah. Right, and then with clear intention, full commitment, then whatever the nature, the nurture, the sociological conditions, spirit is superior to matter. Spirit is superior to matter.
You mind?
Past is prologue, it's not destiny.
You mind? We're going.
That's a beautiful way of saying it.
That's great. That's a great, that you like. I'm so grateful that you're here tonight. Like, I'm so glad to be in your association and hear all of your questions and the conversation you ensued because of it. Like, thank you.
I'm glad you're here too. Had no idea. So many questions would erupt. Yeah, it was very informative tonight for me. I appreciate it.
Thanks for your questions, Jeremy. Is there different ways and easier ways to help all of us understand the process than the way we are understanding it in our, well, yeah, I'd say discussions like this, you know, I'm completely satisfied with Srila Prabhupada as my prime spiritual teacher. Yeah, and I appreciate your humble spirit of discovery, Jeremy. I welcome you to join more of our discussions and programs. We have many hundreds already recorded and available, and we hold these when we're not traveling to places like Wales. We have these like a few times per week, and I encourage you to read the books of A.C. Bhaktisiddhanta Swami Prabhupada. I'm not claiming I'm any scholar or devotee of Jesus, but he's the best representative of Jesus that I know. Thank you, Jeremy. Take care. Hare Krishna.